Well, good morning. Happy Tuesday. And I hope you had a beautiful Easter celebrating our risen, reigning, and returning Lord and Savior. So happy Easter to you. And we're going to get started today on lesson 11-2 in your math book. And so I would like you to open up to page 472 and 473. And actually, we're going to start with problems on 474. So hopefully before this video, you took a moment to maybe read 472 and 473, or feel free to pause the video while you do that. It'll only take a couple minutes. So page 473, and 474, we are going to be solving multi-step equations. So let's do a practice problem together, and I'm going to start with number 1. Number 1, the problem is 14n plus 2 minus 7n equals 37. The first thing I want you to do is to take a look at the like factors. So we've got 14n and we have a negative 7n, and we're going to combine those to begin with. So we know that 14n minus 7n gives us 7n. Plus 2 equals 37. Now that we've combined the n's together, we can solve just like we did for lesson 11-1. Our variable is n, so we want to isolate that variable. The first thing in the way is the plus 2, so we're going to subtract 2. If we subtract 2 from the left side of the equation, we need to subtract 2 from the right side of the equation. So we'll have 7n equals 35. Now we still need to get the 7 times n out of the way. N is being multiplied by 7, so the inverse operation is going to be divide by 7. If we divide the left by 7, we have to divide the right by 7. 7 divided by 7 is 1. 1 times n is n. N equals 35 divided by 7 equals 5. N equals 5. That is the answer to number 1. On this assignment, you're going to be expected to have this written down in order to receive full credit. So please make sure you are following along and writing as we go. As you write and you listen and you think about it, it's going to increase your understanding. Number 2, our problem is 10x minus 11 minus 4x equals 43. If you look here, we have a 10x and a negative 4x. We can combine these terms together. 10x minus 4x is 6x. Then I'm going to bring down my minus 11, the equal sign, and 43. So our new equation says 6x minus 11 equals 43. I want to isolate the 6x. I want to start getting the x by itself, and the first step to do that is to get rid of the minus 11x. What's the inverse of minus 11x? It is plus 11. If I add 11 to the left, I have to add 11 to the right, and I'm left with 6x equals 54. 43 plus 11 is 54. Now I see that I have 6x equals 54. X is being multiplied by 6, so the inverse operation of multiplication by 6 is divide by 6. So I'm going to divide the left by 6. I'm going to divide the right by 6. 6 divided by 6 is 1. 1 times x is x. X equals 54 divided by 6, and your answer is 9. X equals 9. Now let's move on to number 3. Number 3. Oh, and you know what I just realized? I've not been writing my problems twice. See, I need to be in the room with you in the classroom, and you guys would remind me. 1 equals negative 3, 1 equals well, I'm having trouble here. 1 equals negative 3 plus 4p minus 2p. 1 equals negative 3 plus 4p minus 2p. Notice they've put the 1 on the left side, and so we're going to be moving we'll be solving from the right, and that's not a big deal. We have a positive 4p and we have a negative 2p. We can combine those like terms. The difference between 4 and 2 is 2. The sign of the number that appears greater is positive, so we know we have 2p. Then I'm going to bring down my plus and my -3 and my equal sign and my 1. So I'm left with 1 equals -3 plus 2p. Now I want to start isolating this 2p. I want to get to p where it's alone. So I'm going to add 3 to the right, add 3 to the left. 3 plus 1 is 4 equals 2p. I'm going to solve for p. What operation is being performed on p? Multiplication. The inverse is division. If it's being multiplied by 2, I'm going to divide by 2. If I divide the right side, I have to divide the left side. So I'm going to divide that side by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 1 times p is p. 4 divided by 2 is 2. Our answer is 2 equals p. Number 4. 12 minus the quantity of x plus 3 equals 10. Now notice we have parentheses, and if you remember from what we talked about earlier when we were in school, that these parentheses are giving you the clue that we're going to be using the distributive property. And out here in front you see a minus. That is the same as saying a -1 times the quantity of x plus 3 equals 10. So I'm going to have to distribute that -1 times x and that -1 times 3. So I'm going to get 12. -1 times x is minus x. -1 times 3 is -3 equals 10. Now I can combine like terms. I have no other x's, but I have a positive 12 and I have a -3 here. What is 12 minus 3? That's 9. Bring down our minus x equals 10. Now I want to get this x by itself. It happens to be a negative x, but I want to get it by itself. What's in the way? This positive 9. So the opposite of positive 9, or the inverse, is -9. If I added -9 to the left, I have to add -9 to the right. And I'm going to be left with -x equals 1. Now notice I have a negative variable. That's not a real big deal, but it's kind of messy to deal with. So I'm going to multiply both sides by a -1. -1 times -x makes it a positive x. 1 times -1 makes it a -1. So our answer is x equals -1. So let's go on to number 5. Number 5. And remember again, your assignment, you have to show me your work. Assignments turned in without all the work do not receive full credit. I want you to get full credit. Remember, the reason I have you show me all your steps is because as the difficulty and the complexity of the problems increases, you're going to be able to track what you're doing better because you know the steps by heart. Number 5, 15 equals 2 times the quantity of q plus 4 plus 3. Again, we see parentheses here, so we know we're dealing with the distributive property. 15 equals 2 times the quantity of q plus 4 and quantity plus 3. I'm going to distribute this 2 by multiplication to everything inside the parentheses. 2 times q and 2 times 4. I'm left with, working left to right, 15 equals 2 times q is 2q, plus 2 times 4 is 8, plus 3. Now I'm going to look for terms that we can combine. There are no other q's, so I can see there's an 8, a whole number 8, and a whole number 3. I can combine those. So now I'm going to get 15 equals 2q plus 11. 8 plus 3 is 11. I want to start isolating this variable, q. The first thing I got to get rid of is this 11. So I'm going to subtract 11 from the right, subtract 11 from the left. 15 minus 11 is 4 equals 2q. I want to solve for q. What operation is being performed on q? Multiplication by 2. So I'm going to divide by 2. If I divide the right by 2, I have to go over to the left side of the equation and divide by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 1 times q is q equals 4 divided by 2 is 2. Our answer is 2 equals q. Isn't this fun? Number 6. Coming into the home stretch with your examples. The next one is 5 times the quantity of m minus 2 plus 36 equals negative 4. Notice we have the distributive property, and we have to multiply the 5 times everything inside the parentheses, 5 times m, and 5 times a minus 2. So 5 times m is 5m. 5 times a negative 2 is minus 10, plus 36 equals negative 4. I can combine some terms here. I can combine a negative 10 and a 36, and I'm going to get 26. 36 minus 10, or the difference between 10 and 36, is 26. The sign of the number that appears larger is positive, and then I've got to remember to bring down my 5m, and we've got to bring down that plus equals negative 4. I want to start getting m by itself. The first thing we got rid of is this plus 26. Minus 26 is the inverse operation. If we subtract 26 from the left, we have to subtract 26 from the right. And then we're left with 5m equals negative 4 plus negative 26 is negative 30. Now we want to solve for m. M is being multiplied by 5, so the inverse operation is divide by 5. If we divide the left by 5, we have to divide the right by 5. 5 divided by 5 is 1. 1 times m is m equals negative 30 divided by 5 is negative 6. So our answer for number 6 is m equals negative 6. Number 7, we have one of those fun story problems everyone loves. So let's read this together. Keisha read twice as many books this year as Ben read. Subtracting 4 from the number of books Keisha read and dividing by 2 gives the number of books Sheldon read. Sheldon read 10 books. How many books did Ben read? This sounds like a bunch of garbly-gook, but let's go back and read what's there again and write down some of the information that we hear. Keisha, we're going to call her K. She read twice as many books as Ben read. So we're going to just call the number of books that she read as 2B. Then if you subtract 4 from the number of books Keisha read and divide that number by 2, gives the number of books that Sheldon read. So now we're talking about Sheldon. He read the number of books that Keisha read, which is 2B, minus 4, and divide it by 2. That's where we find out how many books Sheldon read. And we know that Sheldon read 10 books. So we know that 10, we're going to substitute 10 in for Sheldon's books. Sheldon's books, 10 equals 2B minus 4 over 2. So let's solve for B right here. Let's find out what B is going to equal. So I'm going to write this over here. 10 equals 2B minus 4 divided by 2. The first thing we've got to get rid of is that division. So we're dividing by 2, so we're going to automatically multiply by 2 over 1. We have to multiply the right side of the equation by 2 over 1, so now we have to multiply the left side of the equation by 2 over 1. And we can put 10 over 1 to make it simpler. 10 times 2 is 20. 1 times 1 is 1, so we know 20 divided by 1 is 20. Equals, these over here cancel out, and we're left with 2b minus 4 over 1, which is simply 2b minus 4. Now we want to solve for b, so the first thing we have to get rid of is that minus 4. The inverse of minus 4 is plus 4. If we add 4 to the right, we have to add 4 to the left. 20 plus 4 is 24 equals 2b. 2b divided by 2, and divide the left side by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 1 times b is b, equals 24 divided by 2 is 12. So we know that Ben read 12 books. We know that Sheldon read 10 books. And now we've got to figure out what Keisha read. She read 2 times the number of books that Ben read. So it's 2 times 12. So Keisha read 24 books. And the answer, I guess, the only one they ask for is how many books Ben read. So that's the one you really have to be concerned about. But once you know how many Ben read, you can go back up and figure out how many Keisha read. Okay, nice job. Thanks for following along. I hope it helps. And remember, I'm a phone call away, a text away, an email away. Sometimes phone is the fastest way to get a hold of me if you're urgent, or texting, but feel free to reach out anyway. I'm here to help you. I'm on your side. I want this to be as non-stressful as possible. And please give me any feedback that will help you, because if it will help you, it will probably help others. Have a great day. And before I check out though, I want you to complete problems 9 through 19 odds. So your assignment is page 474, numbers 9 through 19 odd. And with that, I want you to remember that I want to see your work. I want to see all of it, every single last little bit of it. Have a great day. Bye-bye.